you believe we are 10 days away from Christmas 2020? I don't know about you, but I am so thankful and excited for Christmas, and I'm enjoying the Christmas traditions, even though this has been an untraditional year. But Christmas is only 10 days away, and we are in our series, Christmas Lights. So, as we jump into it, I don't know if you've ever found yourself in a situation where it felt like just the worst timing for something to happen. I've found myself in those situations multiple times, but this story isn't going to be about me. It's going to be about a student at one of my previous youth groups. And so I remember talking to this student, and she was telling me that she was actually born in a firehouse or at a fire station. And I went like, what? Tell me about that. Like, how did that happen? Well, it turns out her mom was on her way to the hospital and wasn't going to make it. They called 911 because I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, her mom was driving. And what happened was they called 911, ambulance came, and they rushed her, and she ended up being born in an ambulance, but at the fire station. And that fire station actually has like a plaque of her with her name saying she was born on XYZ date. I just don't remember the date, but she was born at a fire station. Now talk about just what probably for her mom felt like the worst timing. Like, I can't have this baby now. I need to get to the hospital to have my baby in a proper setting. Well, what's amazing about life and about the way oftentimes God works is that He often works in our lives to where you think that His timing is just not the right timing because it doesn't line up with your timing. And honestly, back 2,000 years ago, it was really no different. So much so for the fact that His very own Son, Jesus, came into the world at a unique time and in a unique way. And that's the story we're going to read this evening. So, we're in Luke 2, verses 1 through 7. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census would be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So real quick to set up the frame, there's a census being taken place, and there was no internet, there was no fill out this form to say you're a person. And a census is just really making a count of the citizens of the people in particular regions. But you had to go back to your hometown to be counted for the census to be properly accounted for. And so Joseph, who's Mary's fiance, going soon to be husband, so Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the line of David. So since he belonged to the line of David and was from Bethlehem, he had to go back to Bethlehem to be accounted for, or to be counted as a member for the census. He went there to register with Mary, who he was pledged to be married with and who was expecting a child. He went there to register Mary, pledged to be with Mary, expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. This is that moment of like, can't we just wait till we're back home in our home where we're living? But no, it's time for the baby to be born. We're in a foreign town that was home at one point, but now we're in this town. There's a census going on, so it's crazy. It's kind of like probably what the Del Mar Fair at high peak hours feels like, where there's just people everywhere. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. And so here we see Jesus, the Son of God, being born in probably, for sure, what felt like an inconvenient time, and quite honestly, in an inconvenient place. The fact that there was no room in any of the inns because it was so crowded because of the census, that finally someone said, hey, you can use my barn. And if any of you were at our Friday night movie drive-through, we had the Advent, and you see these all around, but Jesus being born kind of in a stable, probably with hay and animals, and where animals would feed is essentially where he was placed. And what I think is so powerful this in the Christmas season, as we're telling the story of Jesus being born, and the fact that he was born in a manger in kind of this, during this census and during this crazy time, is that Jesus understands things that have difficult timing and don't seem to make sense with the timing. So many of you right now did not ever think you'd be studying at home from school. Some of you, it's your senior year and you're missing out on your final kind of year of sports. The timing of this pandemic is horrible. It makes no sense. It's super frustrating. But one thing I can promise you, and that I see throughout Scripture, and I see especially clear in the Jesus story, is that God's timing is the perfect timing. His whole redemptive plan through his son Jesus came out of a census, a manger, a barn. And if that's true for the creator of the living God, it's true that during this pandemic and during things that seem like just the worst timing of life right now, that God is doing miraculous, beautiful things. And I think this Christmas might just be the very best Christmas that you and I have. And I am looking forward to it. So in 10 days, we'll get to celebrate it. And I can't wait for that. But in the meantime, realize that God's timing is perfect timing. And that he knows what's going on. And that it doesn't make sense to you and I. But it doesn't need to make sense to you and I because we don't rely on ourselves. We rely on the living, true God who has perfect timing all the time.